I firstly just want to say a big thank you to my wife, Chana, for putting this together. I really think, and it's amazing how many people are joining, both live and also going to be watching the recording, how many people have signed up for it. Um, I think it's amazing to be doing a sort of a 15-part series and just such something that's so ongoing and so regular, and with such fantastic speakers, guest speakers coming to join. So I just wanted to say to you, Hannah, what an amazing job you've done, and I think it's such a good service, such an amazing service, and you see that people want the service and are looking for the service, and I think everyone's going to benefit massively from this program.
Thank you, thank you. Well, this is I'm very excited about this program. It's a 6-month program. It's running over 15 weeks, which a couple there's a couple weeks off within the 6 months. But really, the idea is to just in a light-hearted way keep everybody in the conversation in a simple and practical way. We have some really nice guest speakers coming to talk to us about different topics, and I'm hoping that it's just will provide you a space to just sit and listen and settle down and get into a nice feeling, and hopefully off of that shift in feeling, get some insight. George Pransky used this great way of talking about a change, which is just little split seconds of more awareness, and I think when we have a little bit more awareness, we just right away our world is a little bit different because we are aware in different ways or of different things. So it's a nice way that I like to look at change, which is very effortless, it's very organic, it's very gentle. So I'm hoping that just through just kind of you guys just sitting and relaxing and being here with us, that you'll just be pleasantly surprised by the change of feeling and just change of little areas in your life. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for joining us. I was going to say, nobody has to take notes. This is not a class where you have to remember anything. It's really a space to just sit and relax and just try to listen in a way that's in a gentle way, where you don't have to think too much or overthink, just really to take it in. And wisdom is amazing. When we hear wisdom, it often awakens wisdom within us. And it's just a cool thing about the human experience that we hear and recognize and resonate with wisdom. And by doing that, we kind of wake up a little bit within ourselves in whatever way we need to, and it just is helpful. So thank you, Shaul, for joining us. Shaul is our first guest speaker, my very dear husband. He's going to be talking to us about what are the principles and why do they matter. So we're going to start with that and see where we go.
Well, great. I wanted to encourage people as much as possible to let us see your faces. It's harder talking to a blank screen. Credit to those of you who already, we can see your handsome and beautiful faces. Well done, Yossi. Yes, excellent. Thank you for being one of the pioneers over there, one of the first to do so. Thank you, everybody. That's good. Nice to see you all. I don't know. It makes it feel a little bit more human, and it just helps us as well that we kind of feel we have an audience here, and it's real people, and it's not just kind of some blank boxes on a screen. So obviously, some people sometimes have reasons not to want to show their faces. They might be doing their cooking or they're washing up or something while they're listening, whatever it might be. But assuming that you're in a position to do so, please do. And thank you. I see that people have listened, so I'm very grateful for that.
And Kathy Casey used to say when she came on a Zoom call and all she saw was black boxes with names on them, she would say, I feel like I walked into a classroom and I'm talking to everyone's backs. So
their backs to me.
Extra appreciation and no pressure. I'm really a hypocrite because I often don't turn on my camera when I'm on calls, so I'm not really one to speak, but it does make a difference, and thank you. And hello, Salvador, nice to see you.
Hi, how are you, Hannah?
Good to see you, Salvador.
Good too, thank you.
I think we have a good international contingent here, actually. Salvador's from Mexico, and Tova from South Africa. Did I see Tova there? And who else have we got? I think we've got some people from
we have Maya and Liva Chaya from Israel.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We've got a real few continents here, quite a few continents covered over here in this small little amazing world we live in today, that we can do such a thing. So the first thing I wanted to say was the title that Hannah's given this series, which I really like, is a gentler experience of life. And I do think that sums up a lot of what the principle's about, and of how our lives can be better through the understanding of the principles. That in my mind, so many of our challenges as human beings is the fact that we don't live a gentle experience of life. The fact that we take life very to heart, that we take ourselves very seriously, that we take what happens to us very seriously, that we take what people think of us very seriously, that we take how our lives work out very seriously, and in doing that innocently, we are the architects of our own problems. It doesn't look like that's the way it's going, and in my mind, a big part of what we're talking about here with the principles is to show you that is the case, that so much of our suffering in life is innocently self-imposed, is innocently self-created, and that lack of gentleness in our lives is a big part of it. And if we could just live gentler, simpler, easier lives, it doesn't mean we're going to do less or accomplish less. So don't worry, those out there that want to really change the world and make things happen. Quite the opposite, actually. I think you'll do and accomplish more if you do it in a gentler feeling, because you'll have more resources available to you. Because when we get stressed and caught up and frustrated and tired and anxious and all those things that aren't gentle experiences of life, we don't do so well, and we don't do life so well. And it becomes a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, number one, and it becomes a bit of a vicious circle as well. And so this gentler experience of life, I really think if Chana can accomplish that in 15 sessions, that you, at the end of this, you just have a gentler experience of life, I think that'll be amazing. That'll be amazing for you all. And gentler and gentler and gentler and gentler. You know, Sydney Banks used to talk about the game of life, and you'll hear Chana talk about that a lot if you listen to her, the game of life. And if we could just kind of realize that life is just it's just so much fun if we let it be. It's just such a joyous experience. It's just such an opportunity. We have this kind of time in this world to do what we want with, and we have so much. We're so empowered, and we have so much available to us, and there's so much there that we can kind of make of life, and it's such fun to do it. If we could just kind of get ourselves into that sense of things, and that sense that stop taking life so seriously. In my mind, the more I see life as a game, the better I do at it seriously. The better I really achieve and accomplish in real ways. And when I think it's real and serious, and you know, it's like being on a tightrope. You know, if you think the tightrope is over Niagara Falls, you're freezing, you can't do it. If you realize the tightrope is just 1 foot off the ground, it's like, oh, I can do that. That's okay. That's kind of fun. Let's see how we go, and we'll, you know, you brave it more when you don't feel the heaviness of it. So that's just my first little thought. But the question was, what are the principles and why do they matter? Is that exactly kind of how why are they important? So I want to kind of a little bit go in the reverse order with that, although it will kind of respond to the first point as well. And I'll talk more in terms of personally. Why are the principles important for me? And what have they done for me? And how have they impacted my life? And that's why I feel I want to share them with others. And I think that's something really valuable in and of itself, that you take any person who teaches these principles, who shares these principles with others, And it's really quite unique. I'm sure there's other fields and other areas out there where this is true as well, but it's very special to me that every single person that shares these principles is doing so because of the impact it's had on their life, because they're talking from their own experience, because they're sharing something that they've been touched by, that they've grown from, that they've benefited from, that they've expanded themselves as a human being as a result of. And I think that is very meaningful for me, because if people are sharing theories, ideas, concepts, something they heard from somebody else, something that they've been told is valuable and useful, that's one thing, and that's kind of a level of teaching. But to me, the level of teaching that this is about people sharing what they've seen for themselves, people sharing their own heartfelt experiences, what they've been touched by, what they've been moved by. And I think that is a totally different level of education and a totally different level of sharing with other people. And anybody that you ever listen to in this community will be sharing because of that, will be sharing on that level. There's nobody in this community that hasn't been deeply affected by this understanding, myself and Chana included. So that for me is so valuable and so meaningful. But what I see the principles to be, and what I see they're about, is it's pointed me towards my own spiritual truth, to my own spiritual essence, to what I would call my own godliness. That is almost the only value that I've had from the principles. It can all be summed up in that, is that I have found in real time, not in theory, not in concept, not in, oh, there's some great ideas here and it all makes sense to me, but when I walk down the street, I don't feel it. No, I feel this. I'm touched by this. I'm moved by this. I feel a sense of the godliness, the spirit inside of me. And the reason that's so valuable is because somebody who walks with a feeling, or somebody who sees life through the prism of their own spirituality, from the prism of their own godliness, somebody who feels a sense of that connection, finds joy automatically, finds love automatically, finds a sense of security automatically. All of these things, all of these really valuable qualities are to be found in that same place. You get the gift of that. When you get touched in that way, when you get touched and you find who you are, and you find that sense of greatness inside yourself, you know that you have that wisdom. You know you have the wisdom to always available to you for anything that's going to come your way. And it's so amazing to know that, not to theory that, not to somebody told me that, but to know it, to see it, to walk with it, to live it, to feel it in my day-to-day life. That is just incredible. And when you kind of have that, and when you can share that with somebody else, I have, and I see that when we share it with other people and they see it themselves, we're able to give the gift of independence, the gift of people being able to solve their own problems, the gift of people being able to find their own way in life, the gift of people having the wisdom and the wherewithal and the strength of character and the joy and the love to do whatever they need to do in their life. And it's amazing to know that, and it's amazing to see that. And the principles are really all just doing that, just trying to point people towards that inner knowing. And Sydney Banks will always say, you listen to his talks, he always says it's all about the feeling. He says that over and over and over again until you kind of just had enough of it. Just, I got it, Sid, fine. You didn't need to say it. You said it 10 times this talk already. I didn't need to hear it again. But it's not true. You do need to keep hearing it, because it's so easy for us human beings to get into our intellects. It's so easy for us to start thinking, for us to try to work things out, for us to start trying to figure. And the minute we go there, you're in the wrong track. You're getting lost. You're going to confuse yourself. It's that feeling inside of yourself, that feeling that, like I say, in my mind is a godliness, is a soul, is a spirit in there that I know I have, that I know I am, that I know I am of, that I know I am part of something greater, and I feel that. And I live in that feeling. That's what it's about. It's about the feeling. It's all about the feeling. And the extent to which you can find that feeling, and that is any person who is engaged in kind of sharing these principles is engaged in the process of trying to help people find that feeling, trying to find that feeling in themselves, and trying to share that feeling with others, and awaken people to that feeling more deeply and more deeply and more deeply. And one of the great things I love about the principles is there's always more, because something that is spiritual is infinite. And that which we have within ourselves, that godliness is infinite. You can never say, oh, I've got that now, or you know, I found it in myself. No, there's always more to find. There's always something deeper. There's always something more powerful. There's always something more touching. There's always something more wise available to you. And that's why it's an ongoing learning process. And that's why it kind of never ends. You know, you can just keep learning and learning and learning. And I think all of us who are, no matter how long we have been involved in this understanding for, and I'm probably the person here that's been involved for the longest, there's always something new you're learning. You learn the same things and the same ideas. You read the same book. You listen to the Sydney Banks or whoever speaking again, and they say the same things, but you hear something deeper. You hear something more. You find a deeper feeling within yourself. You find a stronger connection through it. That's, in my mind, what the principles are about. That's what we are trying to share with people. And that's the whole story of the principles. That's everything. That's the goal. That's the purpose. That's where we're trying to help people get to. And when people get there, if they have a bad marriage, let's say, somebody who finds a spirit of godliness within themselves will work out their marriage. Certainly, if two people find it, they'll certainly work out their marriage. But even if one of them finds it, we see this over and over again, they will know how to resolve the challenges in their marriage, because they'll find love again. They'll wake up to something deeper. They'll wake up to something more. And I'll just give you one kind of story of this that I share sometimes, that some of you might have heard me tell it before, but to me it's an example of the power of it. Is our first conference, when we did our first conference, this was about 15 years ago, and a woman came to our conference who was about to get divorced. They were in the process of divorce, and they had lawyers, and the divorce was progressing, and she didn't come to the conference to try and help her with her marriage. That's not what she came for. She came because she was struggling in her life, and she wanted to hear more, and she wanted to try and find more for herself and do better in her own life. And she came and she got really touched. And she got really touched by what I'm talking about. She really, the first morning of the conference, she just found something in herself, something deeper, something more godly, something more spiritual, something more real. She woke up to something. She had what we would call an insight. And when she woke up to that, she suddenly, shockingly to her, really shockingly, suddenly had a different feeling about her husband. This man who she was in the middle of bitter, resentful divorce proceedings with, she suddenly saw differently. And she called him up and she said, let's have lunch together. Now he was like, what on earth is going on over here? We're in the middle of a divorce. What do you mean we're going to have lunch together? And so, but he came. Credit to him that he was open-hearted and ready to give it a go. And he came, and she said that he walked in the room in the restaurant. And she says she fell in love with him all over again. And this is 15 years ago. They're extremely happily married for the past 15 years. They've sorted it out and they've resolved it. And that's why I say even one person in a relationship wakes up to a different feeling. But whatever it is, you wake up somebody to that feeling inside of themselves, to get touched by that real experience that is there and available to every single human being in this world. Somebody wakes up to that, it will be life-changing in whatever way it needs to be life-changing for them. It doesn't matter what they're going through in their life, what they're experiencing in their life, what their needs are, what their problems are, what their challenges are. They will suddenly have a totally different wherewithal to be able to engage and kind of go where they need to go in life. That to me is what the three principles are about. It's about looking for that feeling. Now you'll tell me, hold on a minute, there's these three principles, mind, consciousness, and thought, and what's that all about? You know, I thought that's what it was about. So this understanding, these ideas that we teach, the ideas of mind, consciousness, and thought, in my experience, and for many people as well, I look at them, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'll say it anyway. I look at them as a little bit magical. I don't know why, and I can't tell you why. Maybe Chana can, or maybe somebody else can. Why sharing these ideas with somebody somehow helps them wake up to something deeper in themselves. I can't see the connection. I can't see the logic. To me, this is here and this is here, and somehow they end up here, and it's like sleight of hand. It's like a magician, but it happens and it works. And I'm a person who's very practical. And somehow sharing this with people touches them. Somehow they see something deeper. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but so much of the time we see that happening. And that to me is the power of this, is there's something here that we can share with people. That to me is the gift that Sydney Banks gave to the world, is there's something to share that somehow awakens them to that. You know, prior to my coming to an understanding of the principles, prior to my learning about the principles, I was a rabbi, still am a rabbi, but I was a rabbi who was involved in helping people and involved in trying to help people who were struggling in their lives and who were going through challenge and hardship. And that was part of my remit on a pastoral level. And if you'd have told me that waking them up to a deeper sense of who they were spiritually will help them, I would have probably said, I'm sure it would. I'm really sure it would. And then you would have said to me, well, why don't you do that? I would have said, I got no clue how to do that. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to find it myself, let alone try and point somebody else to it. Oh my gosh, it's like, that to me is the goose that lays the golden egg. If you could show me how to do that. And I really stumbled across these principles, and I really came across them by accident. But when I did, I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, because it woke something up in me. I found something deeper inside myself, and it solved a problem for me that had been a problem for years and years and years. And it solved it overnight. Like this woman with her husband, I just got so touched and so moved, and the problem didn't seem like a problem anymore. And it hasn't been a problem since 20 years later. I saw that the potential and the possibility there. And so I said, I got to share this with others, because if that can happen to me, maybe it can happen to somebody else. Maybe that can be helpful in that way to somebody else. And I see that it does. And I've seen over and over and over again that it awakens people to something deeper. But in 20 years of doing this, I still haven't figured out why or how. But I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter why or how. That's the intellect. That's like figure it out and work it out and try and show me how it all fits together, and the logic, the A follows B and B follows C. We're trying to point people away from that. Why would I want to kind of try and understand it? I just know that there's something here that's so helpful for people. So I keep sharing it. and they keep teaching it, and people seem to keep getting touched by it. And that to me is the power of it. The power of it, it is something that can awaken people to an experience of self that is deep, that is powerful, that is lasting, that provides independence, that gives them wisdom on a go forward basis and on an ongoing basis. And what more could you ask than that? I mean, that is so helpful and so meaningful and so powerful. But it's one of the reasons why when people come to us and when we want to share this with people, and they'll come and they'll say, I've got this problem, can you help me with it? It's like, no, we can't help you with that problem, but we can help you find something deeper in yourself that will solve that problem for you, likely, most likely, or will give you a lot of perspective on that problem, or will give you a whole different way of seeing that problem. And people are, but I want to solve the problem, I want to talk about the problem. The more we talk about that problem, the less likely you are to find what we're looking to show you, the less likely you are to find what's really helpful. You've got to, and it's hard for people because there's kind of a trust, because they know what they need and they know what's on their mind and they want to look in that direction. And we're saying, no, look over there. If you look over there, that's where you're going to find something. George Pransky tells a joke about this. He says that, you're walking down the street and you see a guy on his hands and his knees and it's a nighttime and he's looking for something. And you say, what are you looking for? And he says, my wife dropped her engagement ring and it's really valuable and we want to try and find it. And you say, well, okay, let me have a look and I'll help you. And you start looking around and, and you're not finding anything. And you say, look, I got another idea. Tell me where she was standing when she dropped it. And he says, well, she was standing over there on the other side of the street. And you say, well, if she was standing on the other side of the street, why are you looking over here? And he says, well, this is where the street light is. The light's over here, so I want to look where the light is. And that's what we do sometimes as well. We want to look in the place where we feel it's easiest to look, whereas the solutions are often to be found in the places where we don't know to look, where we don't think to look, where we've tried looking everywhere that we think to look, and we found no solutions, and we're still just as stuck as we ever were. Maybe we need to start looking elsewhere. And that was kind of the first thing that I got touched by, was that I came, and most of you, all of you almost have heard my story probably at least once, so I'm not going to tell it you at least twice or three times probably. But I had a problem that I had been struggling with for years. And I had done so many different things to try and solve it, and nothing had worked. And I came to the principals, practitioners who I'd come to get advice from, and they said, look over here. And I was like, why would I want to look over there? I can't see possibly how looking over there could be helpful for me over here. And they said to me, not in these words, but they said, you've been looking over here for years and have found nothing. Is that not correct? And I was like, yeah, that's correct. Why wouldn't you think, if you really think there might be a solution, that it might be somewhere where you haven't looked? And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe I need to look elsewhere. And that's, to me, is something that is so counterintuitive for people with this understanding. And one of the things that people struggle with, why are you teaching me this stuff? Mind, consciousness, thought, what's it got to do with anything? I'm depressed. I need to feel better. That's what I need. How are these ideas about how the mind works going to help me with my depression? I've got a problem in my marriage. Don't speak to me about mind. I want to know what I do when my wife screams at me. How's mind going to help me with that? So we think that we need to be able to see how the solution is going to fit and how it's going to work before we'll give it a go. And what we suggest here as one of our challenges as practitioners is trust us a little bit. We know what we're talking about a little bit. We've had experience. That's what these guys said to me. We've had some experience with this, we've been successful, and you've been sent to us because people think that we can do a good job. So trust a little bit, follow in the direction that we're pointing, and who knows what might come out of that. Maybe something different. And boy, was it different when I got a little bit humble and I said, you know what? Maybe I don't know how these things work. Maybe I'll listen to these guys and try and hear something different. And when I hear something different, it solved everything for me. So that to me is why these principles are so important, because they help to point people in a direction from which they can find the wisdom, the wherewithal, the strength, the energy to have the solutions to their problems, but more than the solutions to their problems, the way to find a way forward in life with vision and with enthusiasm and with optimism, to kind of go and do whatever you want to do with your life. And to me, that's the power, and that's the significance, and that's the value of these principles. Now, I know I haven't talked about what the principles are, Chana, but should I kind of talk about that, or where do you want me to go from here? Have any thoughts?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say on what you were saying, Chipman would say, I walk around the world, I see people standing asleep, I tap them on their shoulder and they wake up. And that's how he used to talk about sharing the principles. And I love that because I think it's true. It's like they have all the wisdom. People know everything they need. Right? Everything they know the truth of how we work and who we are, and the truth of the human function. But somehow it's like we kind of fallen asleep. We forgot, and then you tap them on the shoulder and they wake up. And it's really that simple. Yeah. And anyway, so I just remembered that, and I thought it was nice to share. But
it's kind of like, and if I can just say on that, but then you can kind of tell me where to go. It's kind of like the guy who's starving to death, and got no money and can't make money no matter what he does. And you happen to know that he's got 10 million pounds under his bed in cash, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't realize that. And it's like, oh my gosh, shame for the guy, shame for him. He's suffering so much, and under his bed, he's got exactly what he needs to solve his suffering.
Yeah. So that's why the job is easy, and that's why it's so effective, because you just are like, oh no, look there, not there. No, you have it. Just go there, not there.
Yeah.
And that's what's fun about this understanding. But yeah, I thought maybe we could just hear from people, see what anyone have a question off of what you've been saying, anything on anyone's mind, and let's open it up for a couple of minutes. And if if there's not, we could carry on.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the principles themselves. I am happy to do that and to give a little overview and synopsis. But I'm interested to hear kind of what people feel to this point, if anybody has any thoughts or anything.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing about the format of these sessions. We will be sharing some ideas and kind of sharing some thoughts with you, and kind of sharing what we've learned that was helpful for us, in the hope that you'll kind of hear something and wake up to seeing what you have to see yourselves. A very effective way of learning and sharing in this understanding is conversation. So having a conversation, or being in a room where conversation is happening, and you're learning to kind of sit and listen, and someone asks a question, often if you listen with respect, you'll see that question a lot of people resonate with it. It's very human. It's very universal. So it might be that we're talking to someone very specific, but probably if you just sat and listened with respect and an open mind and an open heart, you would find that speaks to you too. And when we learn through conversation, we really bring our learning to life. So we're not kind of sitting and waiting for the speaker to do the work for us, but it's like we're listening in a way where we bring our own reflections, our own sharing, our own considerations or questions in a way that really brings our learning to life. So there's no pressure, and no one has to share anything ever. But sharing is so valuable, not only for you individuals, which we want to be of service to, and we want to really tailor these calls to you individuals, but also it's really very, very valuable for the group. So if anyone has a question, a reflection, anything they really want to share all through the program, please raise your hand at any point or put it in the chat, and we will do our best to answer your questions. So let's start with Liebe Chaya and Uri Shalom.
Yeah, sorry. My husband's kind of new to everything. And he doesn't really give people a little bit mind, consciousness, and thought, and just give a little introduction to the 3 principles. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. I will do that. I'll make sure there's time enough to do that. I'm interested to hear if there's any other reflections first, but yes, absolutely. Now that you've asked for it, I'll make sure I do it. I was thinking of doing it, but now I'll make sure I do it. But go ahead. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi.
Salvador.
I have always been very intrigued and didn't understand the story with the table. When you saw God in the table.
Salvador.
If you can speak to that, that will be great also.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Salvador is referring to the story I tell of how I came to the principles. And there's a particular episode.
Well, the thing is about that story, Salvador, I will let Shaul share that story, but we need a little bit more time. We need more time for that. So I will try to get another session where Shaul will come specially just to share his how he woke up to this understanding and why it had such an impact on him, because I think it's a great story and so valuable, and there's really a nice feeling when he shares it. But we don't want to pull it off in 5 minutes. So we'll do a special one for that. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I would love to do that. Absolutely love to.
Thanks.
Okay, sure. Anyone else?
Rifki?
You're muted.
Yeah, she's just unmuting.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So I guess my question might be more not for this particular session, but I've been in this conversation for a while, talking about the 3 principles, and I guess when you talk about having an insight, you would think that the insight stays with you, because once you have the knowledge, you can't undo that knowledge. So if you have the knowledge of the principles, how is it possible to fall out? Because I find that it is possible to forget. It's not that you do forget. You kind of let life get in the way, and you're not. It's not. I find it challenging to keep that insight, as an insight, rather than it being. It gets a bit fuzzy, So it's just interesting, because normally when you have these like epiphanies, it's like very effective, and it kind of impacts you in a permanent. It should impact you in a permanent way. But I guess my question is there a way to keep yourself within those principles throughout life without falling out of your insight?
Shaul, can I answer that one?
Yeah, go on, because I have a thought on it as well, but I'll let you go
on. I'll let you go first.
Well, Rivki, in terms of what Salvador was talking about, I had this unbelievably deep insight when I first came across the principles, unbelievably deep, and I was so touched, and I was so clear, and I was so obvious to me that this is how things work, and this is what the world is, and I woke up to a whole new world. And then I got on the plane back to England, and I don't know what it was, 10 hours, 12 hours flight. I went from getting on the plane in this new world, certain that it was lasting forever, and I touched down back in my own world, forgotten everything that every insight that I'd had, and forgotten everything that I was touched by. And maybe it wasn't quite that quick, but over a process of 2 or 3 weeks of getting back into life, I entirely forgot everything. And I just got back into my life exactly as it was before. No change whatsoever. But as time went on, and I was in my life, and I was struggling with my life again, and I was having a hard time in my life again, suddenly, somewhere along the way, it suddenly came back. What are you doing, Shaul? You had this insight. You saw something different. I don't know what or when. I just woke up again. And I realized that it was there. I just got lost in life. And that happens to me at times. I get lost in life, but it's still there. And it awakens in me again. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Gosh, I got lost here. And then I get lost again. But so the insight is permanent. It's absolutely permanent, but it gets covered up and I get lost on a regular basis. But go on, Chana, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think there's going to be different levels of insight, different that you could make different different levels of insight. You could have levels of insight that are so profound and they have such a lasting and long impact on people. There's also our appreciation for the insight and a respect for it that also makes a difference in terms of how we kind of bring it and carry it into our lives. And then there's what George would say, little moments of realization, you know, just it's a little realization that really serves you and helps you in the moment. And then another little realization and another little realization. My experience with insight is you know, I was thinking the other day, I used to be so judgmental on certain individuals or ways of life that seemed kind of, I had opinions. I had so many opinions about things like rights and wrongs. And I was very judgmental. My heart was in the right place and I didn't mean to be, but I was. And I was thinking the other day, I was interacting with someone that I used to really judge a lot of their ways. And I had, it's like I could go to lunch about it, you know? It's like you call your friend and you go to lunch about the judgments. So, and then I had this interaction with this person and I was kind of walked away and I thought, it's so funny. I completely don't judge his way. And I used to really be judgmental of his way and literally go for lunch with it. Like I would have a whole rant about it, not just judge it in my head. And I was thinking, it's so funny. I didn't work on that. I didn't try to change that. I just have different understanding of human beings and separate realities and where they're at and a different respect for human beings and how they are. And judgment just doesn't seem like something that makes sense anymore, and definitely not going to lunch with it. That definitely doesn't make sense. And so that is little tiny moments of little tiny accumulations of insight over time, over lots of different conversations that I would say completely change you as a human being. Now you'd have a moment of judgment, but you have such a completely different relationship to judgment and to people that you could, I would say, there's many ways in which I don't recognize myself. I'm unrecognizable in terms of the level of understanding I was in and where I came from. And I have plenty more to see, but I think we see something and it maybe gets covered occasionally with a busy mind, or gets covered occasionally with habit, strong habit or conditioning, or just, you know, just doing our life, like Shaul saying, just getting back into the normal. But I don't know. I don't think that we ever forget or it goes away. I think it might be just a tiny bit under the surface, and we wake up to it a lot. It wakes us up occasionally just on its own, and often we just wake up faster. So I could be kind of lose my way, and then I might talk to a colleague or a friend or Shaul, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're getting lost," and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And it doesn't take more than just a split second to wake up. And it's like, yeah, I forgot for a minute and then I remembered. So the understanding is, George Pransky has a great way. I love George's way of talking about it. He says, we're climbing up a mountain. That's our level of understanding. And he said, what you want to see is a trajectory. It's like you want to see progress, not that you slip and go up and down. Like up and down is fine, but as long as it's on a trajectory. You're not going up and down, but kind of going down, 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 down. You're going up and down, but you're making headway. And I love that. And I think, to me, that's what my learning looks like. It's like I get some insight, I get up and go up a bit, and then I drop, but I don't drop to before my insight. I drop with an insight, and then it's like, so that's how I see it. And I don't believe that we I think we at the very most we forget. But I think when we see something, it's there, and it's in our knowing, and when we start having respect for that, we don't lose. We take care of it in a way that it serves us more. I don't know. That's my experience of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Chan. I love that.
Thank you.
You're right. Not all insights are equal. And there are insights that touch us so much that we'll never forget them. They might get covered up, but we'll never, they're there. They're in our consciousness or our subconsciousness forevermore. And then there's some insights that are just moments where you just kind of saw something and they serve you for that moment, but they don't necessarily last forever. And there's a whole range in between. But I wanted to make sure I take the time to
Shaul, I'm gonna just say one thing, and then you could take the next 10 minutes to answer her question. But I just wanted to say as well, I saw something also around change and insight when I had a conversation. Also happens with George. I love George. I learned a lot from George. But he said, he was talking to me about something that I was trying to kind of see more around, and then I kind of saw, I saw more than I saw before I started the conversation. By the time I ended, I saw more. But what it looked like to me was like, oh, wow, I would have to see how to bring that into my life in order to make these changes. And it's like a little bit like you get some insight to, oh, wow, I need to eat better. Say you got an insight, gosh, I really have to eat better. Or, oh, gosh, I got to do better with my finances. That doesn't mean that now you lost 20 kilos tomorrow and now all your bank accounts are, doing, I don't know, you're doing as you should. It's more like, oh, wow, I see more. Okay, let's see how I bring that into my life, into my eating habits, into my spending, into whatever it is. And it's like gently and slowly you make an adjustment. And I called this series A Gentler Experience of Life, Living from Wisdom, because I love the connection between a gentler feeling is often aligned with wisdom, listening and hearing more wisdom. And so to me, Bill Pettit, Dr. Bill Pettit, also one of our very lovely practitioners who's been teaching this for many years, told me all I could say about change is that every day of my life for the last 40 years has gotten gentler and gentler and gentler and gentler. And I love that because it's like, there's no pressure and you don't need to have big, crazy epiphanies and you don't have to have big, crazy insights. It's just, as we get a feeling for a gentler experience, we also get a feeling of living from wisdom. And that combination of a gentle feeling and wisdom just offers you a different experience of life. And that's really what I would love everyone on this group to kind of keep, just to kind of get a feel for. If you just got a feel for that, not for change and for, really conquering anything or really putting pressure on yourself to change something or get something. It's more just a feeling of what if it could just be a bit gentler, and what if I could come from wisdom more. I think you would just find it's just such a beautiful journey. Okay, Shaul, sorry, yours.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Okay, let's see what I can do in the time left. A quick journey through the three principles. My rabbi, Zichron Levrach, used to say to us, Don't believe a word I say. Check it out for yourselves. You have to know for yourself. It's got to make sense to you. And we kind of feel the same way with the principles here. We kind of see the world a certain way, and we believe that this is the way the world is, but you've got to see it for yourself. And it's not helpful to take our word for it. We ask you and we invite you to consider what we say and go and see if it works in your life. Go and see if it's true for you. It's true for us. Go and see if it's true for you. We believe it will be, and it is. But you got to see that. It's not for us to see that for you. So we believe that all of human experience, every single experience that any human being has ever had, from the very beginning until the very end of mankind, whenever that might be, and today included, is only experienced through three principles, through three media. I don't know what you would want to call them, through three things, and that is mind, consciousness, and thought. And you can't have an experience that only has two of them. You can't have an experience that only has one of them. It wouldn't be an experience. And equally, you can't have an experience without them. Every experience is made up of all three of those and only the three of those. That's what we're suggesting. That's what we're putting out there for you to consider for yourselves. And what are those three, and how do they kind of work, and how do they combine? So let me start with thought. Thought is ideas that we have in our head. Thought is pieces of information that come to us in our own minds. Ideas, our brain creating experiences for ourselves, and we experience our life through thought. So when I see a cup on the table, the information's coming into my eyes through my brain, and my brain is creating a thought of a cup. When I feel a sense of love for somebody, I have a thought of love for that person. Now then I have an experience of the feeling, but the feeling is powered by the thought. When I have a memory, it's a thought. You go through it one by one. When I have pain, it's a thought. The nerves send a message to the brain, and the brain gives me a message, what I would call a thought of pain, and I experience pain. Take away the thought by blocking the nerve endings with some local anesthetic, and you won't have pain anymore. Even though they're chopping your finger off, you won't feel any pain. Pain is experienced through thought. Everything. You go through your experiences one by one, and you could see how that experience is through the medium of thought, is experienced by a thought. The only thing that we human beings experience is thought. We don't experience anything else. We are thinking beings. We experience our life through our thoughts. Take away thoughts from a person, no thoughts, you have no experience, because you're dead. You are brain dead if you stop thinking. The minute you stop a person's thinking, they have no engagement with life anymore whatsoever. So number one is thought. But there's a second thing, and the second element that goes with that you wouldn't have any experience without it either, which is consciousness. And consciousness is my ability to experience my thoughts, my ability to know my thoughts, my ability to be aware of my thoughts. Consciousness is me. Consciousness is me, is individual me, is my own experience of my thinking. If thoughts were just, if there was no consciousness, then thoughts would be like a movie playing on a screen, but there's no me sitting there to experience. It would just be happening, and there'd be nobody there to see it. There'd be no audience there to experience it. Consciousness is me sitting in the audience, being able to watch the movie of my thoughts. That's consciousness. And then mind is where do my thoughts come from? What creates my thoughts? Now we can have a lot of conversations about all these different ideas. I'm really putting it very simply and very succinctly. And I'm not saying a lot about any of these things, or really enough about any of them, but I would ask for just a very quick and simple overview in a short time. Where does our thinking come from? What creates thoughts? We are suggesting that we do not create our own thoughts. You can't create your thinking. You can't magic up thoughts at will. You can't say, let me think about an elephant, because the fact that you said, let me think about an elephant, means that you were thinking about an elephant when you said it. And I didn't decide to say, think about an elephant. That just came to me. The idea of the elephant popped into my mind. And then I took a hold of it with my consciousness. And now I said, let me think about an elephant. But I don't manufacture my thoughts. I'm not the manufacturer of thoughts. I believe that there is a manufacturer of thought. And I personally call that God. Now, in the three principles context, we talk about it as mind, that there is some greater force at play in this universe that is behind life. There is a force behind life that is creating life, that is making life happen for all of us. And in this instance, it makes the grass grow, it makes the world turn, it makes whatever happen. But the key fact in the principles is that it creates my thoughts, that it creates thoughts for me, that it offers me thoughts. It offers me an array of thoughts at any one moment, a constantly changing, a constantly developing smorgasbord of thoughts, different thoughts available to me. And it's amazing how much is there. I can think about the moon. I can think about the sun. I can think about my phone. I can think about my wife. I can think about what's going to happen tomorrow. I can think about what I'm going to eat after I get off this Zoom call. I can think about my kids. It's all there. It's all in my head and it's all available. I didn't decide to think about any of those things as I said those to you. I just took them from the availability that's there for me. I just took them from that smorgasbord and threw them out there and said them because they were available to me. Now, what our consciousness does is takes from that smorgasbord and decides what it's interested in and says, okay, let's look at this thought now, or let's go over here, or let's go over there. And that's where we kind of get choice, and that's where we kind of get to be our own person in this world. So mind, let's call it God if you like, or not if you don't, mind provides thoughts for me, and it provides a smorgasbord of thoughts. Thoughts are the experience I get to have in my life and in my world. And consciousness is the me that gets to choose how to use that thought and how to go and where to go with it in my life. When people get lost, as we all do, when they forget that. And when they forget that their experience is just thought provided to them by greater mind, and they think there's something more real here. And when we think there's something more real, we have a less gentle experience of life. And when we have a less gentle experience of life, it's difficult and hard for us, and we don't function as well, and we're not as productive and as effective and as happy often as we would like to be. That's my little quick synopsis.
Now, good introduction, Shaul. Very good. You pulled it off very well there.
Thank you.
I'm impressed. Okay. Well, I'm going to be trying to end these sessions on time to make them easier for people, and especially for the people who it's late for them. So next week, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Shaul, for doing the session with us. I really appreciate it. 16th of January, next Thursday, we have Kathy Casey talking about anxiety. And just to let you know, Kathy Casey will be talking next week, 8:30 p.m. UK time. All the sessions on Thursday of this series will be taking place 7:30 p.m. UK time, except for the 5 sessions with the guest speakers. So if you, we're going to send out reminders the day that sessions are taking place, with the correct time and the speaker or the title. But I just want you, if you could go on the website if you're unsure, or drop us an email if you're unsure. Next week, it's Kathy Casey, 8:30 p.m. And I'll keep you posted a reminder week at a time, so that hopefully we don't get mixed up. We had to change the main series to 7:30, but we kept the guest speakers at 8:30. So hopefully everybody, that doesn't affect too many of you, and we hope a lot of you could join us live still. Recordings will be hopefully sent out tomorrow. And thank you all for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you very, very soon.
Just want to add one last thing. For those of you that don't know Kathy Casey, she is absolutely amazing. She is one of my absolute favorite speakers, and she took me once in California to see the work she was doing in prisons, and she totally changed people's lives in prisons. You cannot believe it. I went in this prison, this high security prison with murderers and gang members and who knows what, and they were teddy bears eating out of Kathy Casey's hand. It was just absolutely amazing to see, and she's a very special lady, so not to be missed.
Yes, you're in for a treat. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Any questions, any feedback, please feel free to send us whatever questions or comments you have, and we will read them and hopefully address them if and when needed. But thank you again, and have a good rest of your evening, day, and a lovely weekend ahead.